Welcome to another episode of the Voices for Voices TV show and podcast. Your host and founder of Voices for Voices, Justin Allen Hayes. Thank you for joining us. We are in 53 countries, 608 cities, just counted, went into the analytics, and that's just really on the audio side. So the video puts us even greater. So we're grateful to be able to bring information, content, individuals to you and to help bring information that you may not be aware of. And we are our goal is to be uplifting and bring people with us and to give them this platform. And this episode is like all the previous 215 episodes in our catalog. We're joined by a fantastic guest. Was able to uh, network with a mutual colleague friend, and just excited to be able to do this. So I'm going to give some of her bio info, and then we'll get started, kind of in a timeline of how she got started, and then we're going to do two episodes, and then the second one we'll really dive into what's going on now, what's going on, what are her thoughts on the future, because she is like I am and many others. She's dreaming big and wants to do big things and help people. So let's jump right in. Our guest today, as you can see, is author Sandy Solis. She is a native of Colorado that is now living in green country, Oklahoma. She's a 3D computer artist and lives on the family ranch. She's married with one daughter. She's a longtime student of the Bible and eschatology. Sandy has vlogs and animation videos, and you can reach out, subscribe to her at Bible Rock. So BibleRock, no spaces altogether. As she learned that there are many types and shadows in her book. So if we talk about character wise, for example, Jesse with no coat symbolizes no prayer covering. It's her vision to give an option to, and I love this, give an option to the Harry Potter books and the like with that quality Christian content. And she also desires to make each book in the Spirit Wings series into full length motion pictures, video games, and other supporting products. And a theme park is also listed on her list of to-dos. Now, companion anime color books are also out for each book in the series, and she feels that she is called to promote the kingdom of God with all her resources. And you can find more information in her books at spiritwingsonline.com. Her books are on amazon.com as paperbacks, hardbacks, and Kindle editions. And Audible has book one available, and as there's only so many minutes and hours in a day, that it takes a minute to put those together, and then an audio format. So the rest are forthcoming. All right. So we are excited to be joined by prophetic novelist Sandy Solis. So Sandy, thank you for joining us on this episode.
Justin, it's great to be on Voices for Voices. I'm excited to be here and to dialogue with you. What's my passion.
Yeah. For our viewers and listeners who don't know you and don't know the work that you uh, do in depth, how did the journey of wanting to be a creator, be an author, come about? Was that something at a young age that you felt that was something you wanted to try? Uh, just how did you come into that kind of creative mindset?
It's a wild journey. I call it Jehovah Sneaky. Um, I always knew I wanted to be part of like a pop culture. I was into music. I thought I would be maybe a rock and roll star, or write and sing, because I do write and play guitar and stuff. And so that was my focus. I'm going to go in the kingdom in that. And then there was a seed, I guess, inside me. I would doodle this character's face, and at a certain, well, much later in life, I was in church and I saw a very brilliant young boy carrying a ghost story book, and at that moment, I felt like, he needs a good, high quality fantasy book. And the Lord said, "You're going to write it." I said, "Ooh, I should have paid more attention in English class." So that was where it started. We had a tornado on the ranch. I think it was 2006 or seven, and I began writing the book while we were cleaning up the devastation here on the ranch when that tornado ran through. And it turned into one book, two books, three books, and now we're at seven, and I expect maybe a total of 10 young adult fantasy books that in some way compete with genre of Harry Potter, but it talks about the supernatural in a godly, biblical sense.
Yeah, and I think having healthy alternatives to some of the secular uh, options that are out is a good thing, and not as many people know about that as as they should. They should have that option, and so we're hoping that, and we know that this episode as well as the second episode is going to reach a lot of people in a lot of different areas, a lot of different demographics that uh, may not have known that, and to know that they're able to find that as an option. When it comes to the actual writing process, what is that like? Do you envision like the whole host of events, not obviously at once, but or do you do like section at a time, or just how does that even work?
Yeah, it's kind of linear with me. I mean, I'm not like the guys that can write the outline and this is the plot and this is the outcome. I go one chapter at a time. I don't know what's going to happen. Sometimes I'll reference something from book 3 books ago. Oh, that's what that means, and throw that meaning in there. And so it's like with my mind, sometimes the way things develop, because I partner with the Godhead, and it's just like, this is so fun, and it's so amazing how it comes out. And it really, the whole series has a kind of a running theme, more than one, but one is to deal with trauma and mental health, as the main character deals with trauma. And it shows people, you know, if he can come out and have victory, you can too. So it's really good for people who are struggling, and in this day, there's a lot of craziness. So this is
Mhm.
like a good, quiet, I mean, there's a lot going on, but it's a good place mentally, and for people that are dealing with traumatic things.
Yeah, I thank you for talking about that, because that's sometimes a touchy subject when we talk about mental health and trauma, and to myself, how the organization Voices for Voices even came about was when I hit kind of rock bottom mentally, and found myself in psych ward for 5 days, and there were just so many things on my mind. I wasn't dealing with them, and finally voluntarily admitted myself, uh, and so it's really hard to talk about very personal type of things, especially when there's a lot of people watching and listening. So the fact
Yeah.
that you're building that into uh your creative content, I think is very it's great, and it also will hit the individuals that potentially are going through something, or they know somebody that has. And I think that is a great kind of layer on top of the plot and the storyline that you have. So thank you for kind of delving into that too, because there are I mean, major depression, generalized anxiety, ADHD, all all the above. A lot of
Panic
craziness.
disorders, yeah. Yeah, all
Yeah,
that stuff.
and so the fact that you're covering that is is awesome. So thank you for that from a member of that that community.
Yeah.
Have when I guess how did you decide to start including trauma, mental health? Is there friends or just what we're seeing in the world going on that gave you that idea of like, yeah, like I should include that?
It came organically just through the first couple of paragraphs dealing with this young man and where he was at and the things he was handling in his young life. So it's like God just inputted it from the get-go. This is where we're starting. And so yeah, it was organic. It was not intentional, uh, but it made for a beautiful story.
Excuse me. Yeah, and really, talking about the whole person is is good, and to sometimes we don't think we're having the as big of impact as we think we are or that we think we should, that we look at certain numbers and we're like, oh, I want this to be higher,
Sure.
uh and what I should have found it last year, and as we started kicking off the TV show and podcast, is that we're reaching so many people that we don't even know about, and the analytics and the way
Wow.
privacy and all that uh, is set up, that we're not really capturing every single person that's viewing and listening. We're capturing a lot, but we've had feedback from uh, a wide range of people. I'm like, wait a minute, like I never saw like your city or your town on our analytics,
Wow.
and here they're talking about specific episodes and how it's good to talk about the hard subjects. And so the fact that uh, we are reaching so many people, it's it's kind of a daunting task. It's kind of like what you think about at the beginning of, I want to reach all the people across the entire world, and like with the Harry Potter series, so many people have bought into that, and uh, across the world, and so by you bringing that alternative, and I just love the fact that you're dreaming, but you're also going after them, and I think sometimes that gets lost in translation with a lot of people, where it's easy to say, oh, well, I want to do this, but whether it's financial resources or whatever, kind of comes in the way. It's like, well, I can't do that right now, so I'm just gonna put that on the back burner, and then I'm just gonna keep doing what society is wanting us to do.
Yeah.
Uh, as far as, are you a perfectionist when you're writing or editing? Like, how does that work?
Well, it's definitely a process, and I hate formatting the books, but after 8, I think I've kind of got it. But it will test my inner sanctification. It's like, oh, can the page numbers just disappeared. But it's a skill, and it develops, and I can go to YouTube. How do I get the caption? And mess with stuff. And I do get people to come and proofread for me, and I hate typos. If I find a typo or something, okay, I gotta go resubmit the book and get it correct. Uh, but yeah, it's quite a process, and it's just I just dig in day by day and see how it develops, and it's just been quite a journey. So, but yeah, everybody is hungry for like the supernatural, and I try to make my angels in the kingdom of God creatures much more interesting than the dark sided. Most other fiction, they got all these details about the wizard and his clothing and blah blah blah. But the kingdom of God is up the forefront, and we don't want people attracted to that dark side. We're seeing a lot of industries right now where people try to get ahead by looking to dark things and the occultic practices. So they need to know the kingdom of God and the hope and the joy that it represents, and especially the last days. everybody don't want last days and Antichrist, the beast. So these kids are walking through the book of Revelations, and which is a scary subject for me to deal with, because there's 7 different, at least versions of how things happen. But roughly they do go through, and it takes the scariness out of it, and it shows, the believers have victory, and that God is with them, never leaves them, even through that one period that everybody's scared to talk about, and that's mysterious in Daniel and different places. So it's really good for helping people to find peace in the world we're living in now, how they fit, what their purpose in life is, find their meaning, like you say, to dream, get their dream. And back when you're 3 years old, go back to that. What did you want to do? And don't, I see myself as a dreamer and as a seer. And so I want everyone to have a life that's fulfilling and satisfying, and not just, I made a living, I paid the electric bill, go for the whole thing. And I think these books kind of stir people up and promote that kind of thing.
Yeah, and everything that kind of comes with writing and putting a book together, the marketing part it is pretty tough because there's so many different angles from getting getting your name out, getting the series, and then where they can find it, and a website, and all those things. Can you just talk about uh, how writing is more than just being an author is more than just working on a book, completing it, that it's a bunch of different aspects that get tied in there to make
Hmm.
sure that your content is available for that person that's scrolling and
Yeah,
typing
yeah.
in and following.
Yeah, like you said, when you look at the numbers and you want to reach the whole demographic, everybody, from here to here. So I'm focusing on young adults between 13 and 30,
Mhm.
and, fantasy readers even better. Most of my fans right now are 50-year-old women, but, I'll take it.
Yeah.
It reaches, it's kind of like Harry Potter as far as it can be popular across age groups. Um, but yeah, that's my demographic. Uh, and so even like on the books, the subtitle,
Mhm.
I try to match
Ah.
like what the Lord of the Rings did, and was the other one where you know where they relate to the plot line, but in an interesting way. So yeah, and the copy on the back, So I look
Mhm.
to like Lord of the Rings. How did they market? How did they even the titles of the books? What was their titles? And so that helps me. Even when I want to make like a advertisement, I'll look at some
Mhm.
of the best people at advertisements. What do they look like? What colors did they use? And that inspires me. Okay, that's how I'm going to kind of roughly base mine after. So yeah, I definitely go and see what other people are doing, and get inspired by that for marketing. And I do belong to a Christian business leaders group, and that we're marketing together, and that's pretty powerful. And we can throw ideas off each other. It's really good. Okay, if I change the name of this to this, what do you think? No, that don't make sense. That's too confusing. And so brainstorming with other people that kind of get you and what you're doing, that really helps me a lot. I'm not great with copy, even though I'm a writer. I didn't think I'm a writer, but I am a writer. I'm
Yeah.
a young adult fantasy writer. So yeah, it's good to brainstorm. I even have a book club at times with kids, and we meet at the library. And I'll ask them, okay, what did you think of the book? What do you think of the plot? What was your favorite part? And we eat and we have balloons, and have like a party thing. So yeah, there's all sorts of fun things when you've got the time and the energy to do, to help figure out how to market, and to get feedback on how you put things together. And praying a lot is always a good a good
It
plan.
always is. Yeah, you never can go
Yeah,
wrong there.
yeah,
Uh, so what gets you up in the morning to do what you do on a day-to-day basis, and
yeah, yeah.
because the writing process, maybe there may be some speed writers out there that can really condense it, but it's a
Mhm.
period of time. I'm assuming from one you have the idea till you start, like you said, chapter by chapter.
Hmm.
Uh, how do you, yeah, I guess, yeah, how do you continue to want to do what you do, and
Yeah,
then not knowing how long maybe that might take, and
sure.
the whole world we want everything right now. We don't want to
Yeah,
wait a
I
month
know.
or a week or a day.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So when I get up in the morning, part of my heart is, okay, this is going to change culture. I want to have impact. But as far as the daily writing, I'll just get a little idea or a little scene, or they say this, and when I sit down and start fleshing it out, it's like the Holy Spirit is there, and it just flows. And then when I run out of ideas, I stop. And and there was like 2 years I didn't write a book. It's like the pattern, or the I wanted to do like the last book. I wanted to get it done at this certain time. I wanted to write one every year. But if my senior partner, he don't say nothing, I don't write nothing. It's just the way it goes. So I am planning on writing book 8 and hopefully get it completed this year. But yeah, I'll hear an idea and I'll say it on my phone 3 in the morning, blah 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 blah, and then I'll get that note out, sit down with a book, and see how it fits. And sometimes I have to go back and review what's been going on. So, having 7 books, I have an outline, the ages of the kids. I have all of these notebooks full of data. I have a character notebook. I have a facts notebook, big old white notebook to keep track of. It's really good to document your stuff. Um, so that helped me. And since I am a 3D graphic artist, I drew all my characters. So I could look at those. Oh, her eyes are green. Oh, her hair is black. And it helps me, I need to describe the characters. So that helped me a lot, in the little things, to keep things straight. So it's good to write things down, especially if you're doing a series. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4 big white notebooks on the desk here that I can refer to. And so, yeah, for a series, you really got to be organized to keep things straight. So your fans will tell you, okay, so and so had a wedding ring on. They weren't married yet. So
Mhm.
you want to
Yeah,
keep things, tight.
yeah. Uh, how, I guess, how does it feel knowing that you're having the impact that you're reaching people that you know, when you're in that writing, that creative process, that uh, you're doing it for yourself, but you're also doing it for others. And did you think about that when you got started? Of like, wow, like what I'm doing today might be in front of somebody in uh, Brazil or Italy.
Yeah, I was learning as I went along that people that I knew that had read the book, they said, "Well, when I was reading this, I felt like I was getting more closer to God." And another lady said, "I got deliverance from a wandering spirit reading about the gypsy lady that got delivered. I got delivered reading about her." And so, oh, God's doing stuff,
Yeah,
So I can't, in my mind, I can't imagine all the things, but as I write the storyline, okay, this someone's going to relate to this. In fact, the main character, he went through a lot of abuses, and in the storyline, he wrote all of them on a little piece of paper and put them on someone's desk, someone important. But I didn't write all of the details because I wanted whoever read the book to put their trauma on that piece of paper too, so they could say, well, my thing, there's hope for me in my thing. Does that make sense?
yeah. No, that opens up that, yeah, that thought process for the individual, that you don't have to give all that information. You can give enough, and you really help fostering thoughts and ideas from the reader. And I never thought about it like that, but I mean, it makes perfect sense as you're. So I was like, oh yeah, but I'm sure it took a little bit of thought and energy to get to that point, because it's easy for people to look at the finished product and go, oh, that was easy, and yeah, that makes sense. But in actually creating it, it really, I mean, obviously it takes time, But you're kind of taking things to that next level, that it's not just every single bit of information, like you mentioned at the outset about um, the exact clothes that the person's wearing. You'll give enough information, and then that thought can not creep up, but come into the reader's mind, or the listener, with
Yeah, so they
getting
can
started
relate
on
and
a
apply
level.
it to their own life, you know.
Yeah, yeah. I think that, I mean, what you're doing is, I mean, it's incredible, because I'm I'm finding that being creative can take all kind of different shapes and sizes. It could be writing, and like you said, you were talking about music, and you play guitar, uh, and so that creativeness doesn't just stop at writing. That there's other creative things that you do, and whether it's for self-care or just you want to do it. And I like to play guitar too, so that's also something that I like to do when I can.
Yeah.
But
You
there's
know, a
only so
lot of
much.
artists and writers, I mean, a lot of writers seem, oh, they play drums too, or, there's the creative that goes over into different other medias. It's interesting that creativeness and creative people do multiple areas. It's pretty cool.
So as we start to transition into the second episode, we'll kind of tease that with uh, the dreams and the goals of the amusement park and video games. And you want to see your content not just show up in books, that all kinds of entertainment. um, where does that where do those ideas just come from? Because some people may say, okay, I finished this book, so I'm gonna work on the next one in the series. But to actually think outside that box and say, well, this may happen, and it may not, but I'm gonna give it a shot.
Yeah. Well, when I was writing the first book, there's a storyline about eagles and things in it, and God just began to talk to me about, okay, we want to do this, we're going to do that, and he would give me signs and wonders that just blew
Mm,
my mind. And so he whispered like, yeah, we're going to do movies for every book, and my mind. And
mm,
one night I asked him, I want to hear eagle. I think it was 3 a.m. Eagles are not nocturnal, and I heard the that sound. And he just said, okay, I'm hearing him. This is real. And I'm going to go for it. I'm going to go with the big stuff. And just, he keeps expanding and expanding. Cause that's his kingdom. It's his resources. He's got to fund this thing. And so, it's just a partnership with him, and, going for it, and not being a seer, being a dreamer, you know, that's your imagination. You can visualize what that's going to be like to make a full-length motion picture with a top quality director. And who do I want to play Jesse? And it's just,
mm,
ooh, the juice flows, and it just builds and builds and builds. And yeah, like the anime world needs some Christian content. Anime
mhm.
is still popular today. uh, and so got to get into that too. It'd be great to do graphic novels, which I thought I was doing in the beginning, and the God turned it into the written word. So I had to turn all of my graphics into descriptions, which I could do because I just look at my little graphic novel, which was terrible, you know, but because the software I used and stuff was very antiquated back then, and stuff. So yeah, no, God just transitions things and takes me slowly. Otherwise, I'd be collapsed on the floor and unable to breathe.
Yeah.
If he dumped everything on me at once, like, And so the process and the journey is really fun. I'm 65 this year, and I guess as you do get into the golden years, you're really productive.
Mhm.
You've developed your different skills, you've got your focus, hopefully you've got your identity, who you are, what your calling is. And so when I wake up in the morning, I've got that purpose. It's satisfying and it's enjoyable, and it's just straight up blast most of the time, even though there are the hardcore things you do that are, you know, like hours and hours editing the book, and I'm so tired of editing. But it's a whole, doing the dream and seeing it come to life and being fulfilled is so satisfying. And that's what I want for the readers. I want them to have that level 10 life where they're satisfied, and they won't regret it when they're 65 and thinking about retirement and whatever. I shoulda, coulda, woulda, I want everybody to go for it.
Great. We're coming to the end of our time for this episode. Want to give you an opportunity to share uh, information, how people can find out more about you, about your books, where they can find them, and all that information.
Hopefully maybe we can put a link in your description or somewhere. It's a link tree link, and it shows all 5 options. But on Amazon, you could just type in Sandy Solis, Solis books, and my series and my color books will all show up there. So that's one place you can go. And of course the website, spiritwingsonline.com. That's spiritwingsonline.com. You can go there. And you'll see links to other things. There's a parent guide so that people can say, I have a little cussing in like
Mhm.
starting book 5 as a Christian, like, but yeah, there's little things that, so if you're a homeschooler or you're a mom and dad, you can check everything out for your
Mhm.
kids there. So that's a good start.
Great. Well, Sandy, thank you so much for joining us on this episode, and we look forward to episode 2, part 2, to learn more about you and uh, keep inspiring and dreaming, and show that things are possible when we go after them, I guess.
Well, it's been a real pleasure and a joy, and I just appreciate you letting me be on it and share my passion.
You're welcome. And thanks to our viewers, our listeners for joining us, whether this is your first episode joining us or whether uh, you've been with us from the beginning and you've uh, kept a lookout for all 215 plus episodes we have with a diverse group of individuals from all walks of life, celebrities, everyday people, and the goal is to just share information and hopefully and inspire. So we are going to transition into part 2 of our conversation with Sandy. So please tune in for that. And until next time, please be a voice for you or somebody in need.